Well, welcome back to the podcast, My Why podcast, where I talk to creatives and entrepreneurs. And I'm just so excited for this conversation today because it's going to be a great one. Today, we're going to be speaking about the journey of being an actor. And here to have this conversation with me is the one and only Jordan Hunter. He's been featured on various projects such as The Fifth Room, Santa's Fired, and Double Consciousness, just to name a few. But he's more than just an actor. He is also a United States Navy search and rescue veteran. He turned his experience from the Navy into purpose by founding Legacy Aquatics, a safe place for kids and adults to learn and develop basic and or existing water skills and creating a legacy for generational water safety. He is also the founder of Say It Loud Media and all around a Renaissance man.
Yo, hey, shout out to listen, that is an intro. I was like, where you find that? Hey, I did all that? That's crazy.
Yes.
I remember doing all that.
But yeah, I'm just happy that you're here. Yeah, like I'm just excited you're here, and I know the conversation is going to be amazing. And also, thank you for your service. Always want to mention that. And just a little tidbit for everybody: me and Jordan's been knowing each other since we were in middle school. We go way back, way back in childhood.
Before them degrees, that she had on the wall.
Right. So that's why I'm so excited. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So we're talking about, your journey. So you moved to LA to pursue an acting career, and you were after you were honorably discharged from the Navy. And like, what inspired you to kind of pursue that career?
Woo! Well, it all started with an orange basketball. I'm kidding. So growing up, I knew I wanted to get into film. I knew I wanted to act. I knew I wanted to continue to just be like a character. I wanted to figure out how can I be a kid as long as I can in life and make money doing it, and also like make somebody laugh as much as I enjoy it. So at the time, didn't know how I was going to do that. Went to the military. The military provided me the opportunity for resources, income, exposure to new worlds, experiences, and at the end of my 6 years or my first contract, it was time to either re-enlist or get out. And so had to pray on it. And the only thing I remember is I don't remember when it exactly happened or when I heard it was, but God told me, if you trust me, you'll leave. So I said, all right. And I had saved up a little bit of money. I was very frugal in the military. Didn't buy I did buy a
charger.
Did you buy a charger? I didn't buy a charger. I didn't buy, I didn't do a lot of the like things that weren't going to last. And so I saved up, and I was like, I'm moving from San Diego up to LA. So I got out September 17, 2018. I hit the ground running, got into background acting, just really was organic. Didn't have to I didn't try to go to like the happy hours and meet all these people. I just wanted to just figure out LA first. And I had the opportunity to run into somebody who gave me my first opportunity in Santa's Fired, which then led to somebody from that production who worked for a network in CW. And CW flew me out to Miami, where they were and needed a water safety specialist, basically to talk about the Bermuda Triangle. So they brought me on, and then got the email saying, hey, you did great. Your episode's going to air September 17th, 2018, an exact year from the day I got out of the military.
Wow.
So that was like my first, from God. It was like, if you trust me, you'll leave. A year later to the day is when
it's like a nod from him.
Obedience.
That's, usually when, when you're in that middle stage of like, okay, I do trust you. I wholeheartedly trust you, God. But also, give me a little clue just to make sure I'm on the right
ground.
And that's what that was, like a little just kind of confirmation of like, oh no, this is right. So with that, you hear a lot of people have the dream to be an actor, move to, have the LA dream. And so when you got there and realized the reality of what it really looks like versus the dream in your mind before you moved, what was the difference?
Yeah, that's a great question. When I first got here, I was hungry. I did the pack my bag up. Well, I didn't pack my bags up, but pack my car up, moved to LA. I was thankful, very, very thankful that I had family out here, that I was
Mm.
able to move in until I got on my feet. So that took like, like 3 months until I found my own spot. But to your question, I think it really hit me when I was like, oh, it's a little harder to figure out, where these auditions are and getting a call back, understanding what that meant, contracts, understanding print work, understanding all these other things. And when I started to see my savings, that I had saved up for this opportunity, not dwindle quickly, but it was like, okay, we got to put something in motion.
Yeah.
So another big prayer from God. I was like, yo, you told me to move. What's up?
Mm-hmm.
And again, he told me, go into what you know. And the only
Mm.
thing I knew at that moment that I truly knew wouldn't be hard for me to continue to do was be around water and aquatics.
Mm.
So I like found a swim school and I went in with my resume and they're like, the job's yours if you want. You could start next week. And so that sustained me while, I had and was able to get into, again, like just organically, like building community, building foundations outside of acting. I had
Mm-hmm.
to rebuild my identity from being a military man to being a man in civilization or regular
Yeah.
world
Yeah.
and who enjoys to act. So I think
Mm.
the biggest wake up and realization was redefining my identity, but more importantly, again, like foundation, because now, well, I'm sure you'll get to that, or we'll get to that, but now where I am, I get the opportunity to act. Like that's my
Mm.
mindset. It's
It's a
not that,
different
yes, I am
place.
an actor, but I
Yeah.
see it very much as like an artist. Like I can paint, but it doesn't mean every painting I paint is immediately going to get sold.
Right.
So
Right.
sometimes, being able to act once a year, I have to
Mm.
be thankful to be like, God, I appreciate you like allowing me to be in my what I love to do another year.
Right. So we,
Yeah,
we
so
spoke
it
about
was a big wake up call at first.
yeah, exactly. So you mentioned the word identity, right? And I went to a talk this weekend and we were talking about identity. And basically, the guy was talking about like having to rip up his the idea of what identity is. Because a lot of times, this is just my personal thought of how I look at purpose and identity and all that, is I feel like it could be different purposes for different moments, right? Like purpose is not just one little thing. Like you go chase after one purpose thing, but I think it's important to get into alignment in order to find out what the purpose in this moment is supposed to be. Where you're at right now, do you feel like you're more in alignment to be able to walk out whatever the purpose of today will be, next week will be, whatever time period, that you're there doing what you're doing? Like, do you feel like you're more in alignment in this part of your life?
I definitely the alignment is now visible. Like
Mm.
it's very like, oh, I see it. Now it's just about being obedient and being
Hmm.
consistent with it. I when I introduce myself or when I talk, I am an actor who also runs an aquatic education business. And a lot of times people will either be curious of one or the other. And
Hmm.
usually the aquatic education is the one that people will be like, huh, what is that? Or people will be like, oh, what have I seen you in?
Yeah.
So when it comes to my alignment, it also for me, I see it similar to what you were saying with alignment. I see it as passion and purpose. So my purpose is to continue to grow a healthy relationship with water for Black men and women, Black kids, people of color, and just in general people in the water.
Hmm.
Primarily people that look like me that have or not academically, systematically have
Yeah.
been displaced
Right.
from being able to have water opportunities. So that's my purpose. My passion is acting. Deeper
Mm.
than acting, my passion is to make people laugh and to empower people to be themselves again. Like go
Mm.
find that little kid, you know?
Hmm.
So my alignment, it very much is in, like you said, in different seasons of the year. Like I'm coming up on, excuse me, I'm coming up on high school swim season. So I'm
Hmm.
Coach Jordan.
Yeah.
So during that season, the next 4 months, whenever people will see this, in February through May,
Hmm.
I'm Coach Jordan. So I don't audition as much. I give my heart to those kids because in that season, I'm supposed to be a coach. I'm supposed to be a mentor, but I'm
Hmm.
also supposed to try and develop an everlasting, healthy relationship for these kids with water once they graduate or they come back next year, they know that water is a safe space for them.
Right.
Or they go off to be lifeguards in college or just aren't afraid to travel.
Right.
And then after that, I hit the ground running again, and my head goes back down. Auditions are heavy and things like that. But in each season, it's a hat.
Yeah. So speaking of auditions, like, what has your experience been with auditioning? Like, I always hear people's different experiences. I'm just very curious about yours. Okay.
We
Okay.
got listen. We got one right now. Dang it. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. What is your experience with it? Like,
You know, they're interesting. They are interesting. They're fun. I
mm-hmm.
think the cooties in 2020 changed a lot for a lot of
Mm,
people. COVID.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think it changed
Yeah.
a lot because we had to get used to self taping and
Mm-hmm.
like doing everything at home. Now, a
Right.
lot of auditions were at home prior, but I think now it's like, oh my God, we don't have to like rent a space because a lot of productions either have spaces in LA or they're, on Peer Space or like a production house and they're
Right.
bringing everybody in versus like, hey, the deadline is next Tuesday. Everybody send it in. So it's just getting used to like, you got to be your own lighting. You got to be your own
Yeah.
director. Sometimes it's just me. You have to learn how to lean in with your friends because a lot of these it's hard to argue with yourself. So I have
Yeah.
to invite a friend over and be like, hey man, can I
Yeah.
argue like, cause I'm not going to become me anymore. That's my method of acting is very much so, removing myself from it and attaching what the character needs. So
Mm.
auditions are fun because it's just another way of expressing art.
Yeah.
So and then you'll have the ones where you go in person, and I mean
Mm-hmm.
they're just very just hi, how are you? Okay, do it.
Oh
All right,
wow.
very nice. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you, and then you just never hear back sometimes.
Oh, so how do
And
you deal
silent
with the
reject.
rejection of that? Like, because a lot of people's biggest fear is rejection, and it's like I can assume I'm just assuming, but the assumption is you have to just accept a lot of rejection and keep going. So like, how do you deal with that? The rejection that.
Child. Silent rejection is rough, but
Mhm.
I've had to learn it just wasn't meant for me.
Mm.
And that's a tough one to swallow sometimes because I will have auditions where I'm like, I killed that and I felt
Yeah.
great. Don't hear anything back. And then I've had auditions where I'm like, let me just get this done. Like I'm thankful for it, but like I feel it, but I didn't feel it. But I'm like, if I keep trying, I'm gonna keep just getting in my head.
Yeah.
Callbacks. And so a lot of times it's just like if you're who they're looking for, because sometimes like prime example, there is a TV show that I
Mhm.
auditioned for, um, where they try to bring me in as a main character, the principal. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh shoot. I was like, let's get it. Big network. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah. I auditioned and then I sent it in. 3 days later, I got another audition, same show. So I was like, okay, like they don't see me as the main character, but now I'm like the supporting character. So I'm like, all right, cool. So then get
Mm.
back in my head, and now I'm the other person. And then I send that in. And then about 3 days later, so now next week, I get a
Mhm.
third one, same show. And now I'm like, okay, like they like me. They're just trying to see
Yeah.
where I fit. So now I'm like mentally in my head where I'm like, audition, send it. Fourth time,
Wow.
I get it. I'm like, dang, I know I fit in somewhere.
Yeah.
I send it, and it just goes.
Oh
And
my gosh.
that hit me hard. And now, I won't say it because I mean, again, it's just dope. It is
Right.
dope.
Right. Right.
But it's
Right.
to get rid of competition and just appreciate being a part of art. But when that show comes out, I'm like, I know that scene. I know that scene. I know
Right.
that scene. So it's just something you get used to.
So I mean, I'm assuming like you were a little discouraged in that moment. Did that discourage you from wanting to do more things, or is that just kind of like a moment of discouragement?
So once I'm done with something and I click submit, like I rip it up, it's gone.
Right.
And it also just makes me hungry because it's like
Mhm.
these networks see me, and a lot of these casting directors are the same. So it's like it's just knowing they know my worth. They know
Right.
I'm keeping myself up and optimistic, because
Hmm.
sometimes it's just about how long is it going to take for you to crack. It's just
Oh,
endurance. It's endurance. It's like
yeah.
it is endurance. It's spiritual endurance. It's self endurance. It's physical endurance. Financial endurance. Because you
Yeah.
have to sustain yourself until.
Right. Like I said, with where you're at right now, what are some of the best? I talk with my hands now. So, what are some of the best and like the worst advice you might have received in this journey of, you don't have to name names, obviously, but what are the best and worst advice you received, and also what advice would you give to someone who, like I said, is going to be on that same path that you're kind of on? So we'll start
Yeah.
with the first part.
Uh, I'll start with worst, and it's
Mm-hmm.
only worst for me. It could be the best for someone else. Um, I feel like the worst advice or a
It
piece,
didn't work for you.
yeah,
Yeah.
it didn't work for me.
Yeah.
I would say you have to be in front of these people's faces so they know
Mm-hmm.
you. And to me, it just doesn't feel authentic. Like if
Mm-hmm.
I'm always in your face and forcing it,
Mm-hmm.
it's like forcing work. Like it's basically like saying like I need this, which I do. I want it, but I don't need that role. I don't
Right.
need it.
Right.
For me,
Yeah.
the best piece of advice I've ever gotten was remember you're an artist.
Mm.
So put the paintbrush down and go enjoy your hobbies.
Mm.
That
Wow.
one was like, and that came from a
Wow.
I was working on it. That came from a set with a pretty dope and well-known actor. Like, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, how did you sustain for 15 years? And he was like, bro, like you're an artist, but you have to
Yeah.
remember to go enjoy your hobbies now.
Mm.
And it took like I was like, isn't art, but he's basically saying like you're
Right.
an actor, but like go enjoy like being with friends, go enjoy being with family, go dribble a basketball, go
Yeah.
go do the hobby, because the audition will come where they're like, hey, we need somebody who's really good at basketball, and you're like, oh my god, I've been working at
You
basketball,
shoot it out. Yeah.
and so a lot of times that's what it is. You can put your head down and be like, I'm doing these classes, I'm doing this, I'm studying this book, and then they're like, all right, we need somebody who like knows how to deal with a breakup, and you're like, dang, I haven't been in a relationship in a while,
Mm.
so.
Yeah. So, what advice would you give someone, you know, from what all the information that you have now?
Ooh, I would say give yourself grace in the journey. Um, there's super highs
Mm-hmm.
and there's very lows. But as long as you know that the next step is coming,
Mm-hmm.
just remember how to maintain yourself when you're really high and humble, keep yourself humble, and to keep yourself really low and confident.
Mm.
Um, that would be the biggest piece of advice in that world. But also outside of
Yeah.
everything, you gotta
Yeah.
make sure that this is right.
Mm.
If this ain't right, you can come out here and get lost quickly,
Can you
because
elaborate on that a little bit? Like, what do you mean by that?
yeah, I think like your mental health is so important just
Mm.
overall, because again, it's like you come out here and you're like, all right, I'm giving myself 3 years, and it's like, all right, well, first off, don't give yourself a timeline, but a lot of people are like, I got enough to make it 3 years, and now it's like, oh, I don't want to take this job, or like, oh, and now it's like, okay, like I'm failing, and it's like, well, you're not failing, it's not your time yet,
Right.
or like it's not that you're bad, maybe you just
Right.
need more, sharpening, but mental health will have you thinking again like you're not good enough, you're not worth it. You get you get around a lot of people who look attractive out here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now I identify as a straight male, but I understand and see there are some, you know what I'm saying? I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
dang, bro, like I gotta get back in the gym,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
it keeps you
You're
motivated,
comparing
but
yourself. Yeah.
yeah, it's not a competition per se. Um,
Right.
you just have to remember, who you are and
Mm-hmm.
how God sees you and how He wants to use you.
Right. And so, okay, so we talked about in your introduction that you're more than just somebody who does acting. Obviously you're more than that. So with Legacy Aquatics, it seems to be like we talked about a little bit earlier, like a business that is very much a deep passion for you. Something that you really enjoy, like really It's just a passion part. Everybody knows a passion where passions lay. It's a different place than something that you might just enjoy doing. But I wanted to touch a little bit more on that. Like, what is your long term vision for Legacy Aquatics? Like, what do you see in the long term where you want it to go?
Yeah, Legacy Aquatics is my baby. Like,
Mm,
it was born during COVID. I never advertised. I still really don't advertise. That's how I know I'm meant to do it, because I don't advertise. But I was with one family. That one family told another family told another family, and then by the end of 2020, the beginning of 2021, I probably had like 8 to 12 families.
wow.
End of 2021, McDonald's had a campaign. I was one
Hmm.
of the future 22 in aquatics. Got to go to Essence Fest. I came back from Essence Fest. I had over 100 clients.
Wow.
Um, and then from 100 clients, I think I've touched, probably touched close to 400 people, like
Wow.
just swam with them. So in the long run, it's the volume is amazing, but the value is to continue to get people to their comfort. For me,
Mm,
long term, it's to continue to help people in their comfort, and the way to do that for me right now is to continue to get opportunities to get grants, opportunities to bring other people who are like, oh, I like the water, but like I don't know how to teach yet. Let me come teach you, because we
mm,
need to see ourselves so then we feel a little bit safer, a little bit more comfortable. Um,
right.
Obviously, I'm a black male, but there are women who might not be as comfortable swimming with me, because of just being in a swimsuit. Crazy enough,
Yeah.
vice versa. There's a lot of men that don't want to get in the water with another man because you have to release control. Um,
Yeah.
Long run though, long term. Sorry for that tangent.
No,
Um,
it's not tangents.
I truly, truly believe that Legacy Aquatics will be a form of therapy very soon. And
Mm,
getting government contracting and insurance contracting so that I can bring people into the water, and heal them through like trauma therapy in water.
wow. It's
There's a
beautiful.
lot of
Yeah.
that I take on when somebody touches the water. I say this in a joking way, but I mean it. If those who have seen The Green Mile,
Mm-hmm.
John Coffey, Michael Clark Duncan, like how he was, he was, he was saving them white people. But
Yeah.
that's how I feel when people touch the water. I can feel it. Like I
That's
can
so
feel them
interesting.
basically say, like, I'm scared, but I trust you.
Wow.
And that sometimes is a lot to take on, but I
Yeah.
know that I'm meant to do it. And so my goal now is, how can I help more people be the therapist and also feel safe to go to therapy? Because at the end
Mm,
of the day, the purpose of Legacy Aquatics is healing. I
yeah.
want to do it through water. If you go to the Bible, many of the miracles are through water.
Water.
So,
And I always it was that's actually really interesting to me because I always say the closest physical representation to seeing God on the earth is the ocean. And I've always felt like that's why I love the ocean because it's so vast and there's so much unknown. That's the way I got like it's vast and it's just a lot that's just not known, that we cannot even fathom. And I think that's similar to the ocean. I've always put those correlations together. So that's beautiful. It
yeah.
really is. And I know you're going to be that what you said is going to happen. This is bottom line. So I'm excited for that for you. Um, so this podcast is called My Why, and the reason, like I said, the reason why it's called that is because everybody has a why they do what they do. No matter what you're doing, there's a why behind it. So, what is your why, and why do you continue to go on the path that you're going?
Hmm. I think the biggest why, or the biggest reason for my why, is God has me on this path to continue to be not only an advocate, but an encourager.
Mm,
To, if He can touch you and heal you in the water, imagine where you'll feel safe to open up next.
wow.
That is my why for the water. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, I get tired. Like
Mm,
I feel beat down by the end of the summer. Like I also ocean swim. I take people in the ocean. I
Yeah.
do triathlons, so I have clients there. So like I'm taking people in the ocean. I'm
Mm.
taking people in pools. You're talking about parents with their firstborns trusting
Wow.
me because of another family that said that they swam with me. I've had the opportunity to swim with people with,
Yeah.
platforms and bigger names. So it's a lot of like, hey man, no pressure. Here, hold this glass. So my why is, I mean, I feel like it's not even my why. My why
Mm.
is because God put me in the water.
Wow.
My why for acting is because I don't feel more at peace than I do when I'm on set outside of
Mm.
the water. I
Wow.
feel like when I get to sit down with a director and a writer, and just for them to even have called me back, like
Mm.
they see me as a piece of their art, and to
Wow.
be a part of that art is forever.
Yeah.
If that's the last film they ever make, I was a part of that. No matter if I
Yeah.
got one line or if I'm their principal, like
Yeah.
I'm a piece of that artwork, and I think that's so special.
Yeah. It
To
is.
continue to do that and be a part of that because, again, it's a way of being everlasting. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and my last why for that is I do so much and I advocate so much and I try to journal so much because one day I truly feel like my stuff is going to be in museums.
Mm-hmm.
And for somebody who is an only child, has older parents, I
Yeah.
have to start doing a
Yeah.
lot so that I can pass on more.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's a little bit of poetry. That's a little bit of poetry right there. Okay. No, but that's beautiful. I hope somebody really got something out of that because you said a lot, but it was so it, this life journey is just so intricate and it has so much nuance that like if you don't take in the nuance of it, you really can feel like you want to give up. You know what I mean? You could, because I was talking, I think I was talking to my sister. Probably we be laughing and talking all the time. But you know how people always say, "I'm trying to get there," like and I always ask people like, "What is there to you?" And they're just like, there. And I'm like, there is when your time is up, right?
Hmm.
To me, there is when God calls you home because your process of on this earth is something that you're supposed to be paying attention to. That's why you're supposed to. That's why every day matters. Being present is the most important thing because people are trying to skip over what's present to try to get there, but then they miss their whole life.
Hmm.
You
Come
know what I
on
mean?
now,
So,
come on now, come on, Pastor. Take your
but
time.
but it's true. Like people miss a lot of their life because they're trying to get there. Well, there's when it's time for you to go on up to heaven. like,
To the
like
upper room.
right. It's like don't worry about tomorrow because tomorrow has its own problems. There's a reason why that is there.
Yeah.
God says that. It's because tomorrow does have its own.
Hmm.
But you're supposed to be here today.
I needed
So
that myself.
like I said, that's beautiful. So, but yeah, so we're gonna go to the next segment. It's called "I Heard It on the Gram." So I have a little audio clip for you to listen to, and just tell me what your thoughts are.
Learn to act on stage. Don't rely on social media. Put it down, turn it off, shut up, be quiet, learn, read, relax, get better. First part of your life, you learn. Second part of your life, you earn. Third part of your life, you return.
Can you be my therapist?
I already am.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Listen, Uncle Denzel is on his side missions right now.
Mm-hmm.
That man I saw went and got baptized and ordained. That man is doing podcasts. He is doing sit down interviews. Like, to me, I just came off of a 3-month no social media, October, November, December of last year.
Mm-hmm.
And like I popped back on in January, and now it was like, oh my gosh, like there's a lot going on
Yeah,
out there.
yeah,
And then I saw that clip, and it got sent to me. I think when I hear that and I see that, it just lets me know I'm on the right path.
mm-hmm.
But it's a reminder. It's a
Yeah.
reminder. It's a reminder. It's a reminder. And one day my goal is to actually not have to get on social medias and have like, a team that can
Somebody run that. Somebody take care of
just do
that.
it. Yeah, because again, it's like I made it with, well, not made it without, but it's like you don't need it. It helps a lot, but you don't need social media. If you have your community, if you have your circle, those who need you are going to need you. Those who can get a hold of you are going to get a hold of you. Like, if somebody can be like, oh, I got a good friend that can do this, they can email you. They got my phone number. You don't have to go through socials. But yeah, I think Uncle Denzel, man, he drops a lot of gems.
Yeah, he does.
A lot of gems.
It's wisdom. I mean, he's getting older, so he's just giving out wisdom as he, while he's, still here,
present and able
at the end of his life. At the end of his career, I mean, like he's like, all right, I'm done doing that. Now it's time for me to impart. To a
and
lot
I
of
think
people.
For his 3 parts, that was the thing where I was like, dang, where am I? That was the one where I was like, okay, where am I at? Am I still in the learning? Am I in the earning right now phase? And I feel like I'm still in the learning. I feel like there's obviously always an opportunity to learn, build the craft, and like I'm just learning how to sustain right now because I can have a 15-year run tomorrow,
Yeah.
But if I'm not ready to hold on to the first 2 years, so.
Yeah. So the last part of this podcast is called Be Encouraged. And every episode before I do the podcast, I sit with, I sit and I really want God to impart something in me for my guests. This is like a gift to my every guest that I talk to. And for you, I wish you could see my notes. I probably wrote it at like 6 o'clock this morning. It didn't want to hit me. But what I got for you is move at the pace of grace. And what that means is it's so much, especially where you live, there's so much going on. And it's like, if people want to do things so quickly and you have never been able to do that because it was never for you to move at that pace. Your pace has always been with grace, and the definition of grace is you didn't have to earn his favor, God unearned favor. That's what grace is. And God has always given you favor, and you didn't have to do nothing for it. You're just you, God, and you're God's son, and he loves you, so he's going to give you what you just already have and what you deserve. So your only requirement is to move at the pace of grace that he's already given you. So I hope that was something that you can hold on to.
I was making sure you're done before
Oh God. Oh my gosh. Since you're clapping, I'll go ahead and I gotta give you one. I'll give you
okay,
one.
soundboard. We got a soundboard. Yeah.
We have to use that.
No, that was a great healthy need right there. Because it's so hard to forget that. It's so hard sometimes to feel like you're not doing enough, or you're doing enough, or you're doing too much. Like it's so hard because you could get into a great rhythm. And now it's like, is this the rhythm that I'm supposed to keep? Is this too much? Is it too fast? But then you have to get out of your head. And the easiest way to do all that is to go back to God.
Yeah, because he knows.
Yeah.
My mom always said, we see like this, God sees like this. Down and sees, we only see what's this, and God sees like this. So you remember, God sees like this. He sees everything else, sees the things you don't see. So that's why trust is important.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
2 Corinthians 5:7. It's my favorite verse.
Yeah.
We walk by faith and not by sight.
Yep.
That sometimes is, again, you can't run if you can't see.
Right. Exactly. And faith is an action word. It's not something you just talk about. It's something that you're doing. Whatever you're doing, anything you do is you're putting faith in something. People be putting faith in the wrong things sometimes, and it gives you results. But as long as you keep putting your faith in the right things, you're going to get the right results that were for you. So I hope somebody who sees this episode today really, really, really gets something out of it and encourages someone to go after their dreams, their passions, their goals, not be cornered into thinking you need to be one thing. You could be so many different things. And I'm just happy that we were able to have this conversation. I appreciate you so much. And I know that just everything that is coming for you and everything that is in the present for you is for you. And you're going to just keep doing amazing things. So Thank you for everybody for watching this episode, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Holla!